Piike, Mansell, Hill and Prost, all with one thing in common. They won the Formula 1 World Championship with Williams, once a force in the Formula 1 paddock. Win after win, and champion after champion. But then, Ferrari, Renault, McLaren and Red Bull left Williams in the shadows. Slowly success became a distant memory. Failure after failure, and disappointment after disappointment. I come here with the task of restoring them to former glories. Many came before me, and many failed. Maybe I'll be the same as them.
You are the world champion!
Or maybe I won't. Hello there guys, it's Niran here. As you can see, I'm stepping into my Williams, and that means I have decided to do a Road to Recovery series, the Career Mode series on F1 2013, where I tried to get Williams back to their former glory. I'm hoping you like that intro. That took a heck of a lot of editing. This series, every race will be 25%. As you probably know, the first race will be at Australia. Here I'm just setting up my race strategy on lap 4. I'm coming in to swap my options for primes, and I'm going to have to stop on lap 11 again. But first, here's the qualifying report. So in the first qualifying session of the season, it was actually Williams who dominated, with Maldonado followed by rookie teammate Yesifu first and second, whilst the big boys chose primes over options. It was new season, same problem for Marussia and Caterham, out in Q1, joined by Verne and Gutierrez. People started to take qualifying seriously in Q2 with normal service resumed. Vettel fastest, followed by Hamilton and Rosberg, with notably great performances from Hülkenberg, Perez and Button, seeing them through to the shootout. Williams' new boy will start 11th, with a disappointed Grosjean in 15th. In a close-run final shootout between Mercedes and Red Bull, it would be Vettel who came out on top, from Rosberg and Hamilton in 3rd. Alonso outperformed teammate Massa with a bad day for Lotus, completed with Raikkonen only 7th. And all this means we have Sebastian Vettel on pole ahead of Nico Rosberg and Lewis Hamilton in 3rd. Fernando Alonso will start 4th, ahead of the second Red Bull Mark Webber, then it's Massa, Raikkonen, Jenson Button in 8th, Sergio Perez in 9th, and Hülkenberg 10th. So, I'm hoping you enjoyed that qualifying report, but now it is time to get into the race here. We are starting 11th on the grid in our first race for Williams, our first ever career mode race. Teammate Pastor Maldonado starts 14th. This will be an entertaining race. I can just see it happening. Perez there, ahead, Hülkenberg to the right. Let's see if we can get a good start. 5 lights are on. And now they're off. They were held a little bit there. Hülkenberg not getting off to a great start. We've got a decent start there, but both the McLarens ahead getting great starts. Raikkonen gets mugged by both of them. Our teammate Maldonado's made a great start. We've run a little, well, we just braked too late. I've accidentally paused that by accident. We ran into the back of Perez. My mistake completely. We are maintaining 11th. We're on the inside of Nico Hülkenberg there, momentarily in 10th. We're 3 abreast. We've got Maldonado to the middle. I have to run onto the grass there to make some space. Onto the outside there, Maldonado to our inside, Hülkenberg there as well as Massa runs wide. Maldonado has to give up on that move, a big slide there as Hülkenberg goes round the outside of Massa, and I found myself with De Resta behind, Maldonado pressurising him, but overall it's a great start for both of the Williams. I find myself maintaining 11th and Maldonado getting a great start now up into 12th, but now we're going to harangue Felipe Massa, who has the last points position. He's lost a heck of a lot of places. He started from 6th on the grid, and he's lost out to both the McLarens, who have made incredible starts. Kimi Raikkonen's got past them as well, and Nico Hülkenberg. We've not got the greatest of runs out of there, and now the Venezuelan Maldonado will get a great run on us now down into this tricky flip-flop chicane, but we're just about going to get it right. Yes, we do, and in fact we gain a huge amount of time as Massa and Hülkenberg hold themselves up dramatically through there, and we're now up into 9th with Sergio Perez, who's lost out to Kimi Raikkonen. We've lunged up the inside of the Mexican though, who brakes far too early for the corner. Just to clarify, I am racing on intermediate AI difficulty. That's what I usually race on. I might have to step it up if this is too easy, but so far the only positions we've made up have just been because the AI have braked far too early for certain corners. But now, as we find ourselves going on to lap 2, we're hunting down Kimi Raikkonen. Of course, no DRS is enabled yet. We've only got Kers to defend ourselves from Sergio Perez behind. But through turn 1 we go there as Raikkonen kicks up a little bit of curb dust, but we have made a great start on this first lap, gaining 3 places, passing Massa, Hülkenberg and Sergio Perez. We break down just a little bit late. We've just about made it through though, and Raikkonen now is hunting down the Red Bull ahead. This can only mean one thing, and that's that Jenson Button's got an absolutely stunning start. I don't know where he is. He'll probably be, well, he's going to be 5th or above. So that's a great start from his, I think, 8th on the grid. There, we've not gone well through the apex there. We've cut the corner a little bit. And I'm just messing about with the controls. I am, of course, new, really, to the F1 series. I did get F1 2010, but as far as the recent F1s are concerned, yeah, the series has progressed a lot more since I got the last one. So yeah, I'm just playing with the controls, actually trying to find where I can find tyre wear. Obviously, I know now that all I have to do is press B. At the time, I was pretending to be a noob and didn't realise that we've got a little bit wide there, but we've now grown a little bit of a gap out to Sergio Perez behind us. Kimi Raikkonen is now all over the back of the Red Bull Mark Webber. I don't know if he's planning a separate strategy to everyone else. I don't know if he's trying the alternate strategy, maybe going for the primes before the options, but he seems to be losing a lot of time to Kimi Raikkonen here as now we close up behind the Finn as well. Behind there's a great battle, of course, going on between Perez, Felipe Massa, Nico Hulkenberg, and I'm going to assume Maldonado and Di Resta are on the end of that as well. And we cross the line now onto lap 3 as DRS is enabled, and I do in fact find the B button. But now, moving on to lap 4, nothing happened really on that lap, unfortunately. So I decided to cut that bit out, but using DRS down the straight, Raikkonen tries to get up the inside of Mark Webber there, but his move is cut off. Of course, we do now have DRS. I forgot to use it for half of that lap. Again, I apologise, I'm being slightly noobish, but we are catching Kimi Raikkonen, despite the fact that our tyres are clearly going off, as this is the lap we are going to make our first pit stop here at the end of lap 4. We still have a pretty good gap now back to Sergio Perez and the gaggle that follow him. Ahead, of course, Raikkonen still pursuing Webber. We've gone a little bit wide there. That's going to compromise our exit out of that corner. Not sure what turn it is. I can't remember the number. But still, heading down into the chicane now. It has still been a very good start. We're now up into 7th, but that's only because I think it's actually Sebastian Vettel has pitted from this race. We still have 22 people left in this race. No retirements as of yet. But I'm sure that will change as the AI on this game are pretty much mental, to be quite honest. I have no idea what they're doing. Got a little bit wide there again. Just a reminder that I'm going to have to pit at the end of this lap. Our tyres looking slightly worn as Raikkonen has a look at Webber ahead, but again decides to duck out of it. He's going to have to make that move soon, or else he's going to lose out big time to the Australian. But I don't care. I'm going to be making my pit stop off these, I think, are they super softs? They're super softs, aren't they, with the red rim? Yes, they are. I'm going to be going on to the prime tyres as Mark Webber pits as well, so he's clearly not on an alternate strategy. Our first pit stop as a Williams driver is about to get underway, and as I now go into this camera that I have to, Mark Webber peels off into his garage, well, not garage, but to take his pit stop. Now it's time for mine. Can we have a good pit stop here? It's looking pretty good, 3.1 seconds. That's pretty decent, and we maintain a pretty constant gap actually there to Mark Webber ahead. So that is a very good pit stop from the Williams boys. They've not let me down there. I'm going to have to make sure I don't cross over the white line here as we drop now to 16th. Just behind is that Charles Pic going around the outside. There was debris on the left-hand side of the track, and clearly something's gone down because we're now down to 20 drivers. I don't know who those 2 drivers are who have retired, but we're going to look up the inside of Mark Webber. We've made that move stick. Good move, or have we? Mark Webber staying around the outside, but he gives us the room. For some reason, my guy starts gesticulating. But we have made that move stick. We needed to do that as we were close on the exit, and Mark Webber will have a lot of pace. Just trying to get rid of the debris now on these tyres as I cut onto the grass again. I need to stop doing that, but we need to now negotiate Charles Pic quickly, or else we're going to have Mark Webber all over our gearbox, using some curves now down into the chicane, and we're going to make the move stick relatively easy. Gone a little bit wide on the exit. That's going to compromise my exit from the corner, but Charles Pic is in a Caterham after all, and he appears to be missing one of the M plates off his front wing, so I don't think he'll be able to get up the inside. He doesn't, and we're now up into 11th out of 19, so we've lost someone else on this lap. Absolute carnage. Van der Gaard finds himself in 10th, and there's some more debris as we go past down the front. I'm not sure how there's debris at that stage of the track. I'm not entirely sure, and we've not done a very good job of that corner, to be quite honest. We now do find ourselves in 11th, where we qualified. Of course, a few people ahead do have to pit still. But, yeah, we've lost 3 people from this race. We've gone wide there again. I need to make sure I stop doing this because we've now got Mark Webber all over us. And, oh, dear me, Mark Webber is literally all over us. He's going to have DRS as well. I've got no curves to defend myself as we go up into 7th place now due to the pit stops. Mark Webber makes his way through. There's an accident there ahead. One of the McLarens, I think that was Sergio Perez hitting Guido van der Gaard. I have noticed actually there's a lot of accidents when people are coming out of the pit lane, especially here at Melbourne. That's a key theme. We now find ourselves in 5th in this race. Absolutely brilliant news. It might have actually been Jenson Button who crashed there, because he's now in 6th. There's a lot of debris there. We've not done very well through that corner, not hitting the apex at all, cutting the corner. I don't know how I've got away with so many corner cuts actually in this race. But we are 5th. What a race this is turning out to be. We're going to have to try and stick with Mark Webber though, because he appears to have a lot of pace in that Red Bull. He will naturally, because he's in a Red Bull, to be quite honest. But this is certainly an action-packed introduction to the season. 3 retirements already. I'm not sure who those guys are. We will, of course, check at the end of the race. I don't want it to make it too stop-starty with having to check the race director during the race. I may have to do that at some point during the series, just to check what other people's strategies are. But we've got a great run there out of that flip-flop chicane. We're going to use the rest of our curves here. Can we make a lunge up the inside? This is a corner I'm not very confident about usually, but we have made the move stick. We've gone very wide though, and somehow we've managed to keep hold of that position. I don't know how, really, we've actually managed to maintain that, because we actually got it. We dipped 2 tyres and the grabber on the outside, but we have made that move stick, and we find ourselves now up in 4th position. Sergio Perez is in 3rd. I don't know what strategy he is on, but he's in 3rd place. Mark Webber, though, with DRS, he's just going to breeze past us. Oh, here's Sergio Perez. He's just coming out of the pit lane. This is going to be tight. We go round the outside of Sergio Perez just about. And Mark Webber, oh, we've had an accident there. I'm sorry, I can't have that. I'm sorry. I'm going to have to use a flashback there. I didn't want to have to use flashbacks. But as you may probably see later on in the race, I will make mistakes and I won't use flashbacks. It's only if it then causes grief to lots of other drivers is where I'll use the flashback. I want it to be an action-packed race, but I don't want it to be a race where I end up causing carnage by just taking everyone out. So that's one thing. However, we have made contact there with Webber. He was extremely slow there through the second half of that. Through that corner, even that right 90-degree corner, turn 3, and we made a move, up the inside. My guy was gesticulating again due to that tyre banging there. But we now find ourselves on the podium. I have no idea how. Rosberg's leading this race. Kimi Raikkonen finds himself in 2nd. I don't know what strategy he's on, but he's really made the most of it. He was battling with Mark Webber before the pit stops. Maybe the undercut was the wrong choice from Mark Webber and from myself, because people who have pitted later appear to have made a better race of things here. Kimi Raikkonen finding himself in 2nd, 7.5 seconds up the road. Maybe he's just not pitting twice, I don't know. But we now have 3 guys, 3 very talented drivers behind us. Mark Webber in 4th. Perez, I think, will still be in 5th. That was very close, though. Having to try and keep hold of the position from Webber, lunging up the inside of him whilst trying to stay out of the way of Perez getting out of the pit lane. I don't think we could get away with that in real life as we go defensive now from Mark Webber through the penultimate corner. The 2 McLarens having great races, to say they only started 8th and 9th on the grid. They find themselves in 5th and 6th. I've left a bit of curves this time. I've learned from previous mistakes, as Mark Webber will have DRS. The 2 McLarens behind should have DRS as well as we go through turn 1. A bit of a slide there, just about cutting off Mark Webber and just about making sure that he won't gain a position from us. We're on lap 8 now of this race. The laps are just counting down. I didn't even realise how far into this race we were. We're already pretty much past the halfway stage of this race. Webber now has both the McLarens all over him through those last few corners. Just check behind again. He's opened up a little bit of a gap. I'm saving a lot of curves for the end of the lap, I have to say. I've learnt my lessons now, and I'm not going to use it in the first half of the lap where I'm already strong anyway. I showed in qualifying, actually, I was better in the first sector than I was in the last 2. So there's no point really using curves through there. Well, a little bit perhaps if I'm under pressure, but it's probably wise to leave it towards the end of the lap, using a bit there just to stretch out an advantage, and we might actually get to the end of the lap. Oh no, we've smacked into that bollard, and now we've proceeded to go wide out of there. So I think trying to get out of DRS range striking distance is an unrealistic target, although through that last sector we were 1.1 seconds up actually. So without that little excursion on the exit of the fast flip-flop chicane, we might have found ourselves out of the DRS range and possibly getting away with 3rd position. It depends what the strategies are of people behind, really, and whether we can maintain this position. But now, going on to lap 9, I've left about half of my curves, actually, for blitzing it down this straight. We've actually got a decent enough gap. There's no way Webber's going to make a move up the inside, as Kimi Raikkonen now sets the fastest lap of the race with a 1:29. Is that 8? I'm not sure. Can't really read that from here. But Mark Webber's been extremely quick there through the first corner. I was slow. I missed my apex, to be quite honest. And now we're going to have to go defensive and brake late. Will we get our braking zone right? It doesn't look as if we will. We've gone way too wide even into turn 3, and that's a real disappointment because we've now lost third place. We've lost 3 positions to Mark Webber, Sergio Perez, who now finds himself 4th, and Jenson Button. And not only that, but we've lost a lot of time to them as well. That's disappointing. Now, finding ourselves on lap 10, we've actually lost even more time. I think our prime tyres are starting to go off. This is the lap we'll be pitting as Mark Webber now sets the fastest lap of the race. That shows he did have a lot of pace as Felipe Massa tries to go round the outside of us there through turn 1. I don't think that's going to happen, but we are going to have to go defensive. Will we learn from our past mistakes and brake early for this corner? We will. We make the apex this time. We could see the tyre marks there going into the gravel. That is a disappointment. This still could be a very good result for us and for Williams and get a decent haul of points. But we could have actually... It was a podium was not beyond the realms of possibility there. Now we are finding ourselves defending from the Ferrari of Felipe Massa. There are a few people, I have to say, who I've noticed have gone missing from this race. I haven't. Sebastian Vettel appears to be nowhere to be seen. Lewis Hamilton isn't around either, and Fernando Alonso is not in the top 7. None of those guys in the top 7. I don't think in the top 8 either, because when I lost out to those 3 a few laps ago, Nico Hülkenberg was in 7th. So I can only imagine he's in 8th. Just a quick reminder there that we're going to have to pit at the end of this lap. This is lap 11 we are on now, as we stretch a little bit of a gap actually out to Felipe Massa now, 0.6 of a second. We have lost 4.9 to the gaggle ahead, mainly due to having to defend from Felipe Massa as our tyres start to wear a little bit. We are going to pit though on this lap back onto the option tyres to end the race. We won't have a huge amount of fuel on board, and we'll be on the fastest tyre compound, so we should be able to make inroads onto people that we fall behind after the pit stop. Here we go into the pits for our second and final pit stop here, out of 6th place as Felipe Massa goes through. Esteban Gutierrez there as well, showing on the map there as 8th place. I don't know whether he'll maintain that, but in we come here for a pit stop. Will it be any good? It looks as if it will. It is, and it's 3.1 seconds again, literally exactly the same pit stop as we had before. Great pit stop from the guys as we now exit the pit lane on lap 12. We're in 10th place, but there's going to be a gaggle going past. That's not exactly the best place to feed me out onto the track. But we now find ourselves in 14th place with a gaggle of 4 guys ahead to negotiate. This could really hold us up, and we could end up losing out now to Felipe Massa despite the undercut here. Who are the guys ahead? We've got Nico Hülkenberg there is the first. He's not really made a huge amount of inroads from his 10th place on the grid. There's a Red Bull there. Is that Sebastian Vettel? Well, that answers my question from earlier. Sebastian Vettel is there in only 12th place. That's a shocker. That is an absolute shocker for him. There's a Lotus up there as well. I would assume that's Romain Grosjean, unless Kimi Raikkonen's had an absolute shocker even somewhere along the lines. I would say that is Romain Grosjean. It is the French flag there, showing that we're going to go up the inside of Hülkenberg. He really did leave us a lot of space there, actually. I'm quite surprised. I only literally just put my front wing up the inside. I don't think there was even any contact, but he did give us the space, and he was slow out of the corner. Through this flip-flop chicane, now behind Sebastian Vettel. He doesn't appear to have a huge amount of space, despite his pace. Despite his teammates setting fastest lap after fastest lap. Mark Webber was one of the quickest men on track. That's why he was hounding me earlier. But there, Romain Grosjean, I think that's a Force India as well ahead. That's probably Adrian Suter with Jean-Eric Vergne, the Frenchman, in the Toro Rosso just a little bit further up the road. My teammates just pitted past the Maldonado, the yellow circle on the map. He's come in for a pit stop. That pit stop even, that means he probably won't get any points from this race. As we have DRS down the straight, Nico Hülkenberg as well having it too, but not really making any inroads on us there. Vettel now all over the back of Romain Grosjean here out of turn 1. We're going to have DRS now for a second time down into turn 3. We're going to have a look at Vettel when, oh my goodness, that was purely accidental. I can confirm that was purely accidental. We found ourselves not. I'm giving people space. I'm giving people too much space. I have no idea what's going on. There we were looking at the inside of Vettel, and accidentally, I think Sutil's tyres are just going off. He held up Grosjean and Vettel, and that meant we could take 3 places in one corner. Not sure what the heck was going on there. And in that reshuffle, Grosjean now finds himself ahead of Sutil, and I think Hülkenberg got ahead of both the Germans in that gaggle as well. We're 9th though. Grosjean is in 10th. We're on course for some great points here. Jean-Eric Vergne is now the guy ahead, but he's slowing on the mini-map, and he's very slow. They're going to go round the outside of him. Not the greatest place to catch him, as he pulls off clearly with some sort of trouble. Gearbox, engine, I'm not sure. That's the first time I've actually seen that someone actually break down with no sort of damage to the car. I've seen people pull over when they've had front wing damage for some reason, but he didn't seem to have any sort of damage, but that did put us in 8th. And now on the final lap of the race, with just a few more corners to navigate, we still do find ourselves in 8th, on course for some great points. Nico Rosberg has won the race here in Australia. He will get the full 25 points in the first race of this season, and we crossed the line for a very respectable 8th place and 4 points there to start the season. That is a good way to start the season. It could have been a heck of a lot worse. It could have been better if not for that mistake at turn 3, but I'm still happy with that, beating some big names there. Here are the results. Rosberg getting the win, Raikkonen second, Perez there third, Button fourth. What a great race for the McLarens there. Whatever strategy they were on, it really did work. Massa was 5th in the end. Gutierrez coming from 20th on the grid to salvage 6th place. Great race for him. Webber was 7th in the end. I got 8th with Grosjean and Sutil rounding out the points. He clearly got ahead of Vettel and Hulkenberg again by the end. My teammate Pastor Maldonado was 13th. But here the retirements, Daniel Ricciardo found himself a long way down the order in 18th. We lost Jean-Eric Vergne, Paul di Resta as well in his Force India. And incredibly Fernando Alonso and Lewis Hamilton both DNF. They must have been the two that DNF just after my first pit stop during this race. Well, anyway, I'm hoping you've enjoyed my first ever F1 2013 career mode. 4 points on the board, a great way to start the season. Next episode will be shorter. This one was long just because it was the first of the series and the first of the season. I'll also show you the championship standings in terms of the constructors next week. And I didn't bother showing the drivers' championship because they'll just be the same as the result this time, naturally with it being the first race of the season. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed. Comment about enjoying it if you enjoyed that much. It's been a pleasure ranting at you guys today. I hope you enjoy yourselves, and goodbye. Alright, that was one crash, and to be honest it didn't even make sense anyway. I mean, he goes to right in front of me, but bar that, I mean, it's been